The song was saying, water is life, water is life. And I am praying to the west, to the north, to the east, and to the south, is what the song was saying. That's a loose translation. We're going to do our best with this audio-visual part of our show because we just made a last-minute run to Best Buy. And but it should go okay. We have some, thank these guys up in the booth for helping us out. Why are we here today? Well, I'd like to introduce the reason that we're here is that I stand in front of you as a descendant of a general who committed a massacre in September of 1855, only about 2.5 hours from where we stand here today, a place called Blue Water, or Llewellyn, Nebraska. And the people that are with me on stage tonight are the descendants of the chief Little Thunder of that village that my ancestor attacked and massacred 86 Lakota people. That's where we're beginning tonight. We're going to tell our story of a healing and of a reconciliation to the best of our ability. It's kind of...
That wants to lead us.
Healing is in 3 phases. First one is truth. You need to put everything on the table, not just half or 3/4. All of it.
Well, my name is Paul Stover Soderman. I live in Boulder, Colorado.
My English name is Phil Little Thunder Sr. My ceremonial name is Tokea Wiana. First to run towards the sun.
The second phase is justice. How does that look? No shortcuts. It needs to be called Wopa Kinta Wichokanis. The third phase is forgiveness. That's the litmus test to who we are.
Some glad morning when this life is over.
Little Thunder, the chief, came out and met him with a white flag and a peace medal. Harney refused to shake his hand. And Harney said, no peace, by God, will be war.
Grandson, I'm going to teach you a very profound spiritual gift. Woki, to awaken your center of divinity. As you say, it's a very difficult time because I'm asking you, pray for them, pray for their parents, pray for their grandparents, and back. They're wounded. They don't know what they did.
Part of that is bringing me to Blue Water Creek, and taking me up to Standing Rock. They all intertwine to who I am today. But in that process, I had to learn forgiveness
And I'm trying very hard to correct the karmic actions of my ancestors.
Is it possible that when everyone vibrates with complete forgiveness, that all of a sudden all of this division will shift? Absolutely.
The four of us on this stage have been through, and some that are in the audience here tonight, or today. Our friend is here as well, and my wife is here as well. What we'd like to do is just let you know a little bit about who we are. I told you earlier that my ancestor was General Harney. This is a picture of him in the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, which he was the third signer of. It's one of the reasons I feel a commitment to all the work that we're doing. Next slide, please. Here's a fancier picture of him later in his life. He was born in 1800, he died in 1889. He fought his whole life, 17 years old till an old age, and he signed a lot of treaties, and he did a lot of work for the government that way, and his mentor was Andrew Jackson. If you guys know anything about Andrew Jackson, that was his mentor. So, next slide, please. This is a sketch that was made by a person that was at the Blue Water Massacre, Lieutenant Warren. Next slide, please. This is a drone shot of Blue Water, taken a couple years ago. And by the way, that is in Nebraska near the Colorado border. And this is where that occurred. And the tree in the center, in the very, very top of that picture, is the second biggest cottonwood tree in Nebraska. And it's where we go to pray together every year on September 3rd on the anniversary. We call it the witness tree because it was alive that day. Okay, next slide, please. Well, I'm going to step aside and I'm going to allow my relatives to step up and share a little bit about their family history. So at this time, I'd like to invite Karen Little Thunder to come up to the microphone and share a little bit about her family history and the Little Thunder family, Wakion Chikala.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Brother Paul. My name is Karen Little Thunder, and I am also very nervous with public speaking, so I will just follow along with this slideshow. In the picture, I should complete my own self-introduction. Again, my name is Karen Little Thunder. I come here from the Rosebud Reservation. The man you see right there in the picture, he was also called Little Thunder, but he is Little Thunder the younger. We're talking about to hide, and that's how he survived that massacre as a boy. Next slide, please. Wokik Duza, forgiveness, truth, justice, forgiveness, and healing. I was sitting over here laughing at myself because I hadn't really seen these pictures recently. This was in, I believe it was the year 2014 at an event called the Unity Center, Unity Concert, and it was held up in the Black Hills of South Dakota. It was held for 4 years. Wokik Duza is our Lakota word for forgiveness. On the left there is Paul, in the middle is Uncle Basil Braveheart, and then that's me. I remember remember this a little bit painfully because my elder sister, Rosalie Little Thunder, you may have, I hope, heard of her. She's probably on your banned book list. But she had just passed away not too long before this picture. Next slide, please. The belongings at the Smithsonian were there for 170 years. The way that happened is the massacre afterwards, if you can imagine the burned village teepees. In the aftermath of that massacre, the way these belongings were collected was by an officer named Lieutenant Warren. And so these belongings started out as what was called the Warren Collection, and we now call them the Blue Water Collection. Next slide, please. You have no way to prove they were your ancestors, and that is what I had heard at the Smithsonian when I originally went there in the year 2010. Next slide, please. I believe this is a letter by which we were able to reclaim the Warren Collection. When I originally went there in 2010, I didn't know what I had to learn over the next 10, 15 years.
They never displayed them publicly. They had them in their basement, and they took good care of them, but they were locked up down there basically for a long time. And so we started to inquire, are they available to be returned? And we had a lot of roadblocks. And this is one of the things the guy said to us, the curator. He said, you can't really prove where they came from. And the same guy, right before he retired, sent us this letter. And then he left his job the next day. And it reopened the door for us. Because he says, this is a letter to General Sherman from Joseph Henry, the very first curator of the Smithsonian, saying, as you know, the only collection we have is taken from the slain bodies at Blue Water, at the Harney event. And it reopened the door. And so we called and we said, we'd like to make a claim. Okay, and so Phil signed those papers and made a claim on behalf of the family, and they never called us back for 6 months. They ignored us. But they don't know who we know. They don't know who we know in Washington. And there's an auntie there. She was the first curator of the NMAI. And we called her and said, Auntie Suzanne, could you possibly inquire why they're not answering our emails or our calls? She said, I'm on it. And 1 week later, they called us and said, can we please have a Zoom and begin with apologies? So next slide. There's Auntie Suzanne. She's a badass in Washington, D.C. Most powerful Native voice in Washington. And she really, really helped us. She also helped us with some name changes. Yeah. And so they did respond, and we did make a claim. And next thing I knew, they sent us plane tickets and hotel arrangements. And just last May, we all went to Washington, D.C. Next slide. And there we are. At this time, I'd like to introduce my brother Phil to talk a little bit about our experience at the Smithsonian and about the claim that was made, and let him introduce himself as well.
Okay. First, Tokyo, Wakantunga. Ewok, acknowledge, first and foremost, the Creator. and sharing our story, our beginning. Hokea huyanata. Emir. I am first to run towards the sun. My Lakota spiritual name, which was given to me by my cousin's father, Bill Little Thunder. I had to do ceremonies for 4 years before I acknowledged that name. My English name is Philip Little Thunder. I'm a descendant of a chief and his people that were massacred September 3rd, 1855 by my brother Makola's ancestor, General Harney. And that's why we belong to this circle, ancestral healing circle. Every day we walk in forgiveness, healing, so that our children, our grandchildren, our descendants will not have to happen like that again, ever. So that's why I am here, to tell my side of the story. I have 7 children. One of them passed away 4 years ago. 3 different mothers. So don't seem like I'm picking on one woman. But anyways, I am 68 years old. I've been through a lot of different hats. This is my powwow dancing hat, my marching hat. They call this a feather hat or a dog soldier hat for a warrior. I have my other regalia out in the car. But as far as who I am, does not matter to me. What matters is our ancestors, maybe still buried in that valley. I lived in the city of St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota for 16 years. And my cousin contacted me one day. She said, there's a man that said he's a descendant of a general that massacred our ancestors. I buried my dark past. But since then, I've been on this healing journey, and my cousin Karen brought me in to meet my brother Paul and their family, Kathy, who's doing the from standing water, and my drum was taken. They went out east someplace. So the family and friends replaced them. They gave me an eagle head, they gave me a drum. But this flute, I have a pipestone, sacred pipestone flute. It's out in the car. Part of it's work, so this is a little replacement. But the main thing is about the tune. Maybe not a song, but the sound of it. People associate it with sadness. But for me, it associates with calm. Navi, to calm the spirit. When you hear the tune, you close your eyes. And remember your relatives that have journeyed on to the Milky Way. Your loved ones. relatives. Means oh my.
We're doing all this, right? A couple of slides ago, I talked about this concept of wokentuza, right? Accountability is first. What that means is telling the truth about what happened. Second is, what would justice look like if the people that were harmed and did the harm were to come to justice? What would that look like? What would it take? Then you can move on to the idea of forgiveness, and then maybe a little bit of healing. I have to tell you, this has been informed by vision and dream, because it's not really a good idea. It's hard to do this, to come together and do this. It's taken many, many years to come to where we are today. It's not cool, it's not down, it's not woke. It is informed by spiritual energy that had to happen. And what Suzanne Harjo told us was, you guys have a sacred duty to return these belongings. I'd like my sister Karen to talk a little bit about some of these items that we did go and visit with, and the ones that came home to us. Because let's cut to the quick, they're home. They're back in Nebraska. They're at Ash Hollow State Park in their own room, and they're behind locked doors, and they're safe and sound and secure. And now we're asking the tribe to come forward and say what they want to do with these 69 items. There's no way to put a price on them. They're priceless. But they are safe, secure, and now our job is to put them exactly where they need to be. But I'd like you guys to see some of the things we're talking about. I've never seen anything like this before. It's the earliest examples of some of the beautiful art. The one thing that occurred to me was that the Oyate, the people at that time, they ate, they fed, they drank water, they took care of their babies, and you know what else they did? They made art, man. Because they had time and supplies, and they made beautiful art. So, if we could look at some of these belongings, Karen, maybe you could describe for the folks.
Next slide, please. Okay, in the picture, Ione Quigley, who is our Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, myself, and Phil. Next slide, please. This is just one pair of moccasins. I believe there are 4 or 5 moccasins pairs that came as part of the collection. Next slide, please. Again, a pair of moccasins.
It was, but I do now, and I really want a hat with that on it, so thank you.
Yes, I love your mascot, the lambkins. Next slide, please. This is where we, I'm not sure I can even talk about this. We call it a Lakota chekpa, and it's part of our cultural practices. The piece in the picture and the piece on the left, we had to bring those back together as part of the return. Next slide, please. This is a doll. I first saw this doll online in, I think it was year 2005. It was listed as one of the oldest dolls known to America. And I found out it came from Blue Water, and I believe it. I mean, I knew it. Go ahead, Bob.
If you guys notice, the dress of this doll is made from the shirt sleeve of a cavalry coat.
Next slide, please. Prayer walks and name changes. Okay. Yes, one thing I would like to say, Paul, before I give up the microphone, the reason I'm here is I was once in high school also, and in grade school I was learning about the Louisiana Purchase, learning about in kindergarten, I was in boarding school, we learned the hokey pokey. These are the kind of things I was learning. when I should have been learning our cultural and traditional ways. So I'm here because I want you to make this, memorize this date, please, and make it a part of every history class you're in. Make it a part of every conversation you're in. 1855, September 3rd, Blue Water Massacre. It happened. That's why I'm here. I was learning about Louisiana Purchase, and I remember back then thinking, what do you mean? What Louisiana Purchase? Between the America and France, they sold our land? And that's why I say there's nobody is illegal on stolen lands. Please remember this date and remember that this happened, because you'll never find it in any school curriculum. You might not ever find it in any school books. Thank you for being here.
It's a high school in Princeton, New Jersey, and we didn't learn anything about anything when it came to these issues. So we're on our own to learn, and that's okay. There's a lot of information available. Hopefully some of the things we share with you here today are going to be helpful as you go forward. We want to talk a little bit about something else we got involved with, and that's name changing, right? And when I first learned of who my ancestor was, all I knew about was a mountain in the Black Hills of South Dakota, and it was called Harney Peak. I found out about my relationship to Harney through a family letter to my great-grandmother, Isabel Harney, when she was introduced to Abraham Lincoln at the White House by my grandfather. I didn't know my relationship at all, but I knew there was a mountain in the Black Hills called Harney Peak. If you guys don't know about the Black Hills, they're about 4 hours north of here, and they sit in the western part of South Dakota. And the Lakota people call it the heart of their home and the home of their heart. And if you look at the Black Hills from space, from a satellite photo, it looks like a human heart, shaped like a human heart, not like a Valentine heart, but like a real heart, right? And that's what they call about Turtle Island. That's the heart. The Brazilian rainforest is for lungs. The mountains that run all the way from South America to Canada are the backbone. And the Black Hills is the heart. And I knew that Harney Peak was named after my ancestor. Karen and Phil's relative, Rosalie, said to Karen, we want to get the name off of that mountain. And we took that to heart. We didn't know how to go about it, so we worked with a lot of people up there. There's a great heart and others. Can you see the next slide, please? On the very, very first day, we decided, you know what? We need to pray, so let's walk and pray. So we went from the top of Harney Peak and walked to Fort Laramie with Phil and Tim. Tim's sitting in the audience right now, and him and me were the only ones out there the very first day. By the time we got to Fort Laramie, there were many of us. And this is Phil on top of Harney Peak on the very first day, playing his drum and singing, and that's how we began. Next slide, please. That's what the top of Harney Peak looks like in the Black Hills, and that's an old stone fire observatory, right? Next slide, please. There's me and Phil being gang. Next slide, please. Okay, so Phil and I on the second day, and Timmy, this was our second year, on a rainy day, we walked from Fort Laramie to Blue Water Massacre Site. That was 150 miles. And on the second day, Timmy took this picture. The second day it was pouring rain, but here we are at the Grattan Massacre Site. And this is what kicked off the Blue Water Massacre. And you guys have studied this. It was about a Mormon cow, wandered off, it's a famous story, wandered off the trail into an Indian village, and it was acting crazy and knocking things over, and so they shot it and ate it because they were hungry. And the Mormon went to Fort Laramie and said, I want the man who stole the cow and I want him arrested. So they brought 29 soldiers out to the Indian camp, and half of them were drunk along with a drunk interpreter. And so the captain of the army said, we want the man who's going to be responsible for killing the cow. And the interpreter said to the Lakota people, "They're here to destroy you. They're going to get you right now. You better be ready to fight." But that's not what he said. And that's what ended up happening. They sent the first shot and killed Conquering Bear, a uncle of Little Thunder. He was the one native that was killed that day. But the 29 soldiers were wiped out in half an hour. Harney was hired a year later to come and punish them for that. And that's how the Blue Water Massacre happened. Next slide, please. Here we are walking toward Blue Water on our second year. Regular suspects there. Okay, move on. Tim, you're in a lot of these pictures. Could you just stand up and say hi to the people? You look the same right there. That's Tim Shack. There you go. This is walking on our fourth year from Rosebud into Fort Laramie with a bunch of hippies. It's awesome. This is us circled up out of the Blue Water for a ceremony under the big cottonwood trees there. In August 2016, the U.S. Department of Interior voted unanimously to change the name of Harney Peak to Black Elk Peak. So it really happened. It really happened. And they have the sign up there now. If you go up, it says Black Elk Peak with a big arrow, and underneath it says formerly Harney Peak. I love that sign. This is a photograph of Nicholas Black Elk, the great holy man. He wrote the book Black Elk Speaks. And this is him praying with his chanupa on top of what is now Black Elk Peak, named after him. I'm moving along here pretty quick. If there's anything you guys want to jump in. Your ancestor, and I want to change the name of this water channel in Washington. I said, I'm all for it, man. And it was in the San Juan Islands. It was called Harney Channel, and that's where Harney ended up after Blue Water. He was out there stirring up a bunch of trouble with the British, fighting for land as always, right, in San Juan. And the guy said, we want to name it after a local Salish elder. Next slide, please. And that Harney Channel got renamed Caillou Channel after that Salish elder, a good man there. And so that name got removed, and that was awesome. And that one was easy for me. I didn't have to do any hundreds of miles of walks. I just was on a Zoom call, and I wrote a letter of support. So that was a much easier thing. Next slide, please. This is a video, you guys, of our backyard here. How many of you guys have learned about Mount Evans? You guys know about Mount Evans being changed to Mount Blue Sky? Anybody remember that? Well, it happened. And I believe I want to share a little bit about this with you guys, and because we did a prayer walk from Sand Creek Massacre site to Mount Evans. And if you don't know, Governor Evans was a complicit with the Sand Creek Massacre. And the reason I got involved is my ancestor signed a 1867 treaty at the Medicine Lodge Treaty to make amends for that massacre. So the three main massacres we're talking about are Blue Water, Sand Creek, and Wounded Knee in 1890. Is this a video?
It's really easy to feel like the genocide of Native American people is in the past, but I think it lives on when we let the legacy of beautiful places carry the names of the people who enacted that genocide. Arapaho and the Cheyenne had agreed to peace talks with Governor Evans.
During a meeting, they told the Indians where to camp, and what this did, it set them up.
He not only brutally attacked them and massacred them, but then ordered the militia to bring the scalps and genitals and body parts of those Cheyenne and Arapaho people back to Denver and had people parade through the streets of Denver.
When I hear Sand Creek, I don't think about some tragic thing that happened to Native Americans. I see my grandmothers, I see my aunts, I see my grandfathers. So it's not just some tragic thing that happened to a group of people. It's a tragic thing that happened to my family.
To us, to sacrifice and pray That's the strongest thing you can do.
The prayer walk are rooted in addressing the injustices of the past.
And so I want to thank all the effort of the people who have worked over the couple of years now to change the name of Mount Everett.
They carry the prayers of the people through that flag, the blue prayer flag for the blue sky people.
Maybe there's a way that the best days for indigenous people on this continent, on these lands, on this mountain, aren't days that are in the past, that maybe they can be beautiful days in the future too.
Blue sky represents to the Cheyenne people, it's the name of a renewal ceremony.
It's not for just the Cheyennes. I mean, it's for every living thing on the earth.
It signifies unity, it signifies hope, that today's a new day, tomorrow's going to be an even better day.
The mountains, in many ways, give life to Colorado. And so I think changing the name gives us the ability to unite around that idea and unite around the land that we've all fallen in love with living here.
He ran to the top of the summit of Echo Lake that day and back down, and before the sun went down, that young man there, Papa Lakota, Connor Ryan, his Instagram is Sacred Stoke. And all he does is take native steam on winters, pretty good gig. He's a good man and a good nephew. So if you guys know, in our own state, here we are, Sand Creek Massacre Site, and it's a good place to go. It's amazing. The United States Park Service did an amazing job there. It's a sad place to go, but there's a lot of history to be learned there. That's that guy. What's his name? Evans. Yeah, next. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Mount Blue Sky. And it just got changed, a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago. And as I said before, the reason I was doing it, I learned, even at a later age, that my ancestors signed the Medicine Lodge Treaty with the Cheyenne and Arapaho, so I felt a responsibility and a commitment to do that.